Okay, let's be real for a second.
Hmm.
That number on a dating profile, the one that tells you how many people someone's dated before, it
Right.
can really make you think,
It
right?
definitely can.
Like, is it a red flag or is it just, a number?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we're going to dive into today.
Okay.
We're going to take a deep dive into whether that number really matters when you're deciding to date someone.
Yeah, I'm interested.
We'll look at the arguments for and against it.
Okay.
We'll explore how our own values and experiences play into it all.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll even hear from some other daters out there and get their take.
Sounds good.
I think for some people, seeing a high number of past partners, it can trigger worries about commitment.
Oh, yeah.
Like, can someone with a lot of exes, can they really settle down?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. It's interesting to think about that from kind of an evolutionary psychology perspective, because there's this theory that we're sort of subconsciously wired to check out potential partners for what they call fitness.
Fitness.
Yeah, like basically how suitable they seem for a long-term thing,
Yeah.
and raising kids and all that.
So it's like, even in the age of dating apps, we're still working with caveman brains.
Well, in a way, yeah. But of course,
Right.
it's way more complex than that.
Totally.
But, that brings us to kind of the counter argument, which is that
Okay.
the number itself doesn't actually mean anything.
Yeah.
What really matters is the quality of those relationships.
Right.
And, what someone learned from them.
It's like that saying, what is it? It's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
It's like, think of it like any skill. The more you do something, the better you get. Someone who's had more relationships,
Yeah.
they might actually be a better partner because of it. They've had more chances to learn about communication, about compromise, about what they really want,
Yeah.
and also what they don't want.
Right. Right. So instead of seeing a longer dating history as a bad thing,
Yeah,
it could actually be a sign that someone's really self-aware
absolutely.
and they're ready for a mature relationship.
That's the idea. They've had the time to figure things out.
Yeah.
But of course, we also have to factor in personal values, right?
Right.
Some people really don't care about the number at all.
They just care about the connection.
Exactly. And for others, it's a much bigger deal.
It's so personal.
Yeah.
And I imagine cultural norms and personal experiences, that all plays a role too.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, in some cultures, having multiple partners before settling down is totally normal.
Right.
And then you have, personal experiences.
Hmm.
Someone who's been cheated on or really hurt by a partner who had a lot of exes.
Yeah.
They might be, understandably cautious.
Yeah.
Their past is shaping how they see things now.
Yeah. It's like we all have this invisible baggage that we're carrying around with us,
Exactly.
shaping how we see things.
Yeah, and sometimes, unpacking that baggage and figuring out where these preferences come from,
Mm-hmm.
that's the key to, navigating this whole question.
Which kind of makes me think about how much do our own abuse and past relationships shape what we're looking for in a partner,
Yeah, that's a great question.
We're not just coming into these dating situations as blank slates, right?
Definitely not. That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to dive into next.
Okay, I'm ready. Yeah, it feels like we've just scratched the surface of this whole past partners thing.
Yeah.
We've talked about how someone else's dating history might make us feel. But what about how our own abuse and past relationships kind of shape what we're looking for?
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Yeah. We don't walk into these dating situations as blank slates or anything.
No way.
We're bringing a whole collection of experiences with us.
Exact.
The good and the bad, and all that shapes what we expect and what we want.
It's almost like we're all walking around with these invisible backpacks,
I like that.
full of relationship memories and lessons learned.
Yeah.
And maybe even a few scars.
Right. And that backpack, whether it's filled with sunshine or a few storm clouds,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely impacts how we approach new relationships.
Totally. So someone who's mostly had positive relationships in the past,
Yeah.
they might be more open to dating someone with a longer dating history.
Right.
They might see it as a sign of maturity or even a sense of adventure,
Exactly. They might think, okay, this person has really explored what they want in life and in love.
Right.
They've learned from those experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're coming to the table with a deeper understanding of themselves
Yeah.
and relationships.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then, on the other hand, you have someone who's been hurt in the past.
Right.
Maybe they've been cheated on or betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
They might be a lot more cautious.
Yeah.
A long list of X's might bring up those old hurts and insecurities.
It's like self-preservation kicking in.
Exactly, like your instincts are trying to protect you from getting hurt again.
Right. And sometimes it's not even about some big traumatic event.
Right.
It could just be about these patterns we've picked up without realizing it.
That's a good point.
Like, if someone has a history of falling for people who are emotionally unavailable
Yeah.
or who always put work before relationships, they might keep repeating that pattern without even knowing why.
It's like we're drawn to what's familiar,
Yeah.
even if it's not good for us.
It's crazy how that works.
Yeah, the human heart is a strange thing.
It really is.
We want to feel comfortable,
Yeah.
but sometimes what's comfortable is exactly what we need to break free from.
To be truly happy.
Exactly.
Which is why I think self-awareness is so important in all of this.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, taking the time to think about our own relationship patterns, the types of people we've been drawn to, the good and the bad.
It's all important.
That's how we can break those cycles and make better choices, more conscious choices.
It's like we're unpacking that backpack.
Uh-huh.
Taking a look at each item, deciding what to keep, what to toss, what new things we want to add.
It's like spring cleaning for the soul.
Exactly. We become the architects of our own love lives.
I love that.
By doing that inner work, we come to dating with more clarity, more intention, and a better chance of finding a really fulfilling, lasting connection.
Okay, but how do we actually have those conversations about past partners?
Yeah.
Especially early on when things are still kind of awkward.
That's the million-dollar question, and honestly, there's no easy answer.
Right.
But what I will say is this.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have.
From evolutionary psychology to, you know, all that relationship baggage we carry. But I'm really curious, like, how do we actually talk about past partners with someone new?
Right.
It feels kind of like delicate.
It can be, especially early on.
Yeah, exactly. So, any advice?
I think the most important thing is to think about it differently.
Okay.
Instead of seeing it as like a test or something,
Yeah.
try to see it as a chance to connect.
Okay, I like that. But how do you actually do that?
Well, instead of asking like, how many people have you dated?
Right, which is kind of a lot.
Yeah, it can feel like you're keeping score or something.
Exactly.
You could say something like, what are some things you learned from past relationships?
Oh, that's good. It's more about like what they took away from it.
Exactly. It focuses on the quality of those experiences, not just the number.
And hopefully they'll ask you the same thing back.
Yeah, it should be a two-way conversation.
Right, right.
And as you share those experiences, you build trust and understanding.
Yeah, and maybe even find some things you have in common.
Exactly.
It's like that saying, vulnerability is the key to connection or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's about letting your guard down a little, showing who you really are.
Yeah.
And being open to learning about the other person.
This has been so helpful. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on this now.
I'm glad to hear that. You know, and it's funny, we've been talking about romantic relationships.
Right.
But I think this applies to all kinds of relationships.
That's true. Friendships, family, even at work.
Absolutely. It's all about connection.
Yeah, and understanding how our past experiences shape us and how we can use that to build stronger relationships.
Beautifully said.
Well, I think we've officially deep dived into this topic today.
I think so.
But before we go, I want to leave everyone with one last thing to think about.
Okay.
We talked a lot about how other people's past relationships affect us.
Right.
But what about how our own past shapes what WE bring to a relationship?
Interesting.
You know, what have we learned?
Yeah.
What are strengths, our weaknesses, all of that? And how does that affect how we love and connect with others?
That's a really powerful question.
Right?
It's about looking inward and seeing how our past has made us who we are.
Exactly.
And how we can use that to become the best partners we can be.
Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the best relationships come from understanding ourselves
Absolutely.
and each other.
I think that's a great place to end.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.